Hi, I'm going to show you some of the latest features of Narrator Studio 3. First of all, the dashboard is pretty much the same as Narrator Studio version 2. We will be doing an upgrade to it very shortly, so I won't spend that much time on it, but you can access the supporting community, the video tutorials, as well as spec sheets from here. And then in getting started, you can either hit New Creative, or getting started when you want to build out a completely new creative. Alternatively, you can actually use templates or duplicate a creative to build out a creative. Right here in the release notes, you can see all of the latest features that have been added, from bug fixes to improvements in each of the different releases. So as you can see here, we did release v3.0.35 on July 11th, and then we have 3.6 in development right now. When you're actually in the Creative tab, some really new features that we've added is that when you hover, you can actually go directly to the preview page, which is a new. You can also go in here and duplicate as well as archive all of the old creatives. So one thing to note is when you delete something, it's gone forever. If you have creatives that you don't want to use or see, you can archive them. And then another feature is that you can actually leave notes. So we've actually edited the notepad so that you could leave some quick notes when you're building the creative right here. And so someone else can see what you've done and you can keep track of it. Now, going into this creative, I'm going to go in, edit it. I'm not going to build it from scratch, but I'm going to show you some of the new features associated with it. When it loads, this was built in a very large size. It was built at 1920 by 1080. We actually made this the largest size because it's actually HD video, so we use the HD video size. And if I toggle zoom, it will actually put the entire creative into view. So one of the new features here on the top left is the zoom, toggle zoom. So if I click toggle zoom, it will put that creative in fully into view. We also have redo and undo up here on the left, and then you can basically go through all the different sizes using the arrows up and down. The next button here is copy all styles to other sizes. This is a very good feature. If you want to use the creative as a template, you could just go in, change the color from black into red, or change some of the things on the button, and then swap out the images, and then just use this to copy it across all of the other sizes. So this is what we've added in V3 instead of having a separate UI for templates. We added this feature here. This will enable the animation timeline, and then the button below here opens up our custom code editor. If I click on any element, we still have the function bar for that element at the top, giving the position, the size, and some of the features related to the size. One of the big additions we've added to V3 is we've added the lock and unlock, the actual icon here, and when you lock it, you can see which side it's locked and which side is flexible, is changeable based on how it flows. And so as I shrink it this way, as you can see, the 43%, it will shrink 43%. But then if I move it this way, it's locked and it won't change in that direction. We've added the flip, so you can actually change the lock to the element width and then change it back. So you can actually flip whatever side you want locked. When something is locked, in most cases the element itself is within that container, so it is locked and it just shrinks proportionally when it's locked. However, because we've built the architecture to be fully fluid, if you unlock it, we've added the ability to use contain, fill, and cover that are right here. So what that means is, if something is contained, it now will fit that container. As you can see, we can stretch this up, and then as I shrink it down, it's always contained in this container. So it shrinks down that way, and the same thing if I do this, it's going to shrink down that way. So this is a good way if you want something to act and shrink in both directions. You can actually use this container to have the element shrink in both directions. Very powerful. And then covers that area, and then fills the area. If it's not locked and you do fill, you can see very clearly that the element will skew. So this is a very powerful feature that we have now with the product. And now the default is for all elements, they're unlocked and contained, so you can lay them out. And for instance, if I lay out this one and I make the container tall like that, I could keep shrinking this down, and then it won't change until it gets to until the container hits the right point, and then it shrinks. So for instance, you can see here it shrinks, and then it gets to a certain point, and then it shrinks. So you have a very nice ability to lay out fully fluid. And if you want more options, you can just click here. The other big feature is we've added the open preview, which takes you immediately to the preview panel. We've moved the save button up here, and then you can save and continue. That could take you to the summary page, or you just hit deploy and track. That takes you to the summary page. On the right column, the layout is very similar, but what we did is we created an extra section for layouts. And layouts gives you the ability to see all of the layouts in the actual creative. So in this case here, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layouts, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layouts in this format. So the difference between a layout and a size is that a size could have potentially multiple different layouts. So you have these sizes that are associated in the format, and you only have these 5 layouts now. Layout is basically for how all the elements are kind of anchored within that size. So you can also see the layouts by proportion. So from a horizontal of 10 all the way down to a vertical of 0.25. And that proportion is dividing the width by the height, as you can see here. So this is very powerful. The other thing is that we've added this new format called Fully Fluid. And when you select the Fully Fluid, you basically get 5 different shapes. You get a horizontal shape, a landscape shape, a portrait shape, a tile shape, and a vertical shape. So for instance, here's the horizontal shape. Here's the landscape shape. Here's the horizontal shape. Here's the tile shape. Here's the portrait shape. Here's the tile shape. Here's the vertical shape, and then we've added a very small 450 by 450 and an additional tile. So if you see here, you have 2 tiles, and then you have the horizontal. So you have all the 5 shapes. And so when building out a Fully Fluid, you have to see the Fully Fluid tutorial that will show you how to build out a Fully Fluid by just laying out the 5 different shapes. And then you can get infinite sizes, as you can see here. If you go into the Fully Fluid format, you can see here those were the sizes that came with it. But the actual maximum of the Fully Fluid is set to 4K resolution size, which the creative will stop. And the format just is Fully Fluid with constraints, means that everything is fluid within this maximum size container. It will never be bigger than that. And you can actually go in and add a lot more different sizes and breakpoints in there by selecting proportional sizes. These are all of the IAB new Flex sizes, and these are all of IB many different fixed sizes that you could just add directly into that format if you'd like to. The advanced settings is the same. You still have the ID here. You can add custom CSS, add some of the background colors and keyline designs. And that is your Fully Fluid format. You can also go here and add a new format directly from the editor, and I'll just add the Fluid 250. Now, because the format has already been laid out in Fully Fluid, as you can see here, all of these will lay out automatically. And as you can see, this Fully Fluid has some pre-canned sizes. If you actually have your own fixed height fluid or fluid unit as well, you can select that as one of the formats you have set up. But as you can see here, as I toggle the zoom, it actually puts this in view, so you can see that overall. And as you can see with the format, you can actually go through it and just click and add each of these layouts to those sizes that are set in the format. And as you can see, they all add automatically. Now, one of the really nice things we've added to the tool is, and I'll just maybe go down to this one here, and I'll zoom it up. One of the nice things we added to the tool are the buttons to be able to add a layout and a size. So you can just go in and add a layout, a size as you move the slider. You can just add that to the format. You can remove a layout without deleting the size. So you can see here I have 560 by 250. If I just go there and hit remove layout, it will actually remove that layout and make it gray again. So you can then re-add it if you like. If you use the garbage can, it will actually delete that 560 by 250 from that format and from the entire creative. Unless if it's being used by another format, it will not get deleted. I'm not going to delete it. And so now you see you have those two formats, the Fully Fluid and then the Fluid 250, both in the same creative. Okay, now let's go back to the Fully Fluid format so I can show you some of the other features. One of them is when I click on an element, you can actually see here the ability to edit that element. So there's a little edit button, and if you click on any element, you'll see there's a little edit button in the bottom left-hand corner of that element. See, even on the button here. That will actually give you the ability, if you click edit, it takes you into the side panel that gives you all of the detailed feature setups for that specific element. In this case here, this is a button element, so it takes you in. You can add the text for the button up here. You also have the top bar with the predominant features of that, position, size, and also the more of the setting of the fonts and all of the kerning of the fonts and the color selection of the fonts. Whereas this here gives you the ability to control that button. So you have the ability to change the background color, set up a shadow, and then also a new feature is the ability to set it up by pixel or percentage. The reason that the percentages are by default is because as a fluid unit you want that property, that shadow or the line, to actually proportionally shrink or change its size with the actual fluidity of the creative. You also have the ability to edit the padding for the actual text. So in this case here, you see here, see the story. So the padding on top and bottom of the text, it's actually 15% here. If I change that to say 50%, or that makes it too small because the text would then disappear. But let's say I make it 30%. It's 30% on each side versus if I make it, see, 50% would have made it go away. But if I do 5%, or let me just make that 0, you can see the text fits the button exactly. So the default is 15%. And then the same thing here, you make that 10%. So now you have a button, and as you can see, that text is contained in that button. And the button here is actually locked. And the shrink is just giving the text the ability to shrink within that button. Okay, now I'm going to show you some other element types and the different features associated with those elements. So the next one is, let's just go here and click on the Microsoft logo. And as I showed you here, it's unlocked, it's contained. But what I did is I actually also made it justified to the left and the top, as you can see here for the logo. Now, suppose you wanted to have a different logo for mobile. One of the things you could do is after it's entirely laid out like this, what you could do is you could use our duplicate functionality. So if I click on duplicate, as you can see, it gives me a pop-up and it says visible in current size. So you could just have that duplicate visible in current size and visible in all sizes. For the purposes of usage, the current size is the best way to go. So if I click here, now you see I have a duplicate of that Microsoft logo. And all of the anchoring is exactly the same, which is great. So if you would have done all sizes, it would have actually duplicated that and put that in all sizes. And so now you have that same logo, and you could basically go into that logo. As you could see here in the new version, we actually have the ability to replace image. You can actually download that image right here. It gives you the size and the proportion of that. And then also you have the same, features up here, more in detail here, contain top left. And then if you want to constrain it to its maximum size, you could do that. And then here's all the call to action, including using that element to trigger open, close, as well as restart animation. You can link to another URL. You can link it to the carousel navigation and hide it. So you have all the call to actions around that element. One of the things, I'll just go here and I'll just call that mobile, like this. So now you have that same element, and now you have a duplicate of it, which is really quite nice. The duplication works only for images and text box in this release. We will be extending it to grouping as well as all of the other elements in the near future. The reason we are actually doing an upgrade to grouping specifically around multi-select and grouping, and once we have that, then we'll add the duplication for that feature. Another thing that I want to show you, so we don't need this now, so I'm just going to delete it as such. The other thing I wanted to show was the group. Here we go, here's the group, and as you can see, we have the same. If you go into the group, we've added the ability to add a border that you can have in both pixels and percentage, and select the line type. So you can actually use the group to create a keyline or border element. The only thing is that you can't click through it. You have to be careful of the placement in the z-axis for this specific element. But one of the things that's nice we've added to the group is the ability to crop the child elements. So for instance, in this existing group here, we actually have the video and then the mosaic. And if I just make that mosaic bigger, as you can see, it bleeds out of the group. And now if I go back and click on the group and crop child elements, it'll actually just crop that. So it just crops anything that bleeds over in the group. So that's a new feature that we've added. And I'm just going to hit here undo, and it should take me back to the way I had it before. There you go. The other thing that I wanted to show you is with the video. In order to get the fluidity of the video, we've added the ability you can lock the video. So this is new, and we've added the lock to all elements. So any of the element types now have lock, so you can lock it. The beauty of the video is the video is also in a container, and as you can see here, the video is actually smaller than the container. The reason we did it that way is as you scroll, as you can see, the video stays the same size, and then it gets to a certain size and then it shrinks. So it has the flexibility to do that. And then one of the things we did is we actually dragged the actual controls of the video outside of the video and placed them in the corner of the group at the bottom. So now you can actually have those elements separate and actually anchored outside of the actual video. So when you get the video, you get those elements, and those elements can be actually taken outside of the video. Speaking of elements, to the right, we've actually updated our element list to 4 different color categories. One is design elements, which are blue. Anything that are icons, fonts, social, text, we've actually used green. widgets or anything that might be external that you would plug in potentially in the future, we're going to be adding maps and coupons and all different third-party plugins. Those are all in widgets, which are purple. And then anything related to video and rich media is red. So for instance, really kind of animation, video, all of that is actually red. So we've kind of categorized those in those 4 colors. Just a little new feature in that respect. So let me take you to the background element. So the background element also kind of acts as, it has the same features as the group. You could actually put images in the background, which is very nice. So you can actually use the background to put images in there. And then we've updated the gradient. So now you have the ability to change the angles from horizontal, vertical, and all of that. We've added that feature to the gradient for the background. And so that's pretty much what we have in terms of the elements. The other big thing we want to talk about is the element dynamic loading. So as you can see here, we have a bunch of other elements that are actually turned off. And you can see here the overall K weight is 194K, actually just less than 200K, which is our billing threshold. And then if I go here and turn on those other elements, as you can see, the K weight has gone up. So the way we've done this is that we've created it completely dynamic, that the only elements that are visible will act as the weight of the ad. So now you can upload and have a lot of different images and elements, especially reference images, and not use them. So a best practice that we've done is you create a group. Let's just create a group here, and then drag it to the bottom underneath the background, and just call this group reference or backup images. And then just take that and then dump all of those elements that you don't need and put them all in that group like this. So now I have them all in the group, and I could just close that up and turn that off. I can even move the CTA in there because we don't need it. And now, even I can move the video ones that we don't need, the buttons, and put all the stuff that you don't need in there. So now you have a very clean element list of only the elements that you've needed. So the beauty is now we have that element. Now, what I can do then is, now that I've done that, I can go and copy element to all sizes, copy to all of the different sizes, and then you need to copy the child-parent relationship, because it has all of the children in there. And then I go copy settings, because it's going to copy all the children. And then if I go to the different sizes now, you will see that all of those elements are actually in there and there. And you could just move that to the bottom as such. And there you go. So now everything is actually copied in there and placed. So it's a very nice new feature as well. Okay, now I'm going to show you a couple more things related to the elements. What I'd like to do is show you a little bit around the video, because we have done some improvements to the video. So as you can see here, the video is red. If you go into the video, you can replace the video, or you can upload the video right from here. When you upload a video, it takes a couple minutes for the video to get uploaded, and it generates all of the renditions automatically. As you can see here, the different renditions. We actually set this up so it's capped at 10 megs. That's because of the business model, but you have no problem of adding those. And the features around the video is autoplay, and autoplay only when it's in view. So if you select that feature, it will only play when it's in view, even though it's autoplay. The native controls are with the player, and so those give you the native controls versus the custom controls that we have here. There's the auto hide, and then mute. The mute on user interaction is very good, because you can click on anything in the video and it will unmute it. You can also do the unmute on hover. Please note that these are not available on mobile devices. And then the looping the video. You can add and remove the poster images here. And then you have the similar call to actions here with the video. So the video is it's been improved quite significantly. Yes, the other element type that we could discuss a little bit more is that we've added SVG. We've added an SVG element, as well as we have updated to include some of the other video players. If you happen to have a video player that or video type that you would like, please let us know and we can add that. The carousel widget will continue to undergo more and more improvements, but we do have a nice carousel widget, and then as well as the Twitter feed. So if there are any widgets or features that you would like to, elements you'd like to add, please feel free to let us know. What I'd like to show you here now is the animation timeline. Well, this will be a separate video to show how to use the animation timeline, but if you actually click on the animation timeline, it will actually pop it open, and you need to turn it on. The on and off acts as a record button, so when you turn it on, the animation timeline will be on. You just need to add the elements that you would want to add to the timeline list, and then those elements will be in the same order as they are in this reference list. So if you do use the timeline, please note that. And so, like I said, this will be in a separate video. So I'll just turn that off and close that. And so that's pretty much the overview of the new V3 editor. The creative settings gives you the ability to compress everything in bulk. And you also have access to the Greensock libraries if you want to do your own development of animation as well. But what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to open Preview now and show you this ad unit in our preview page. So it asks you to save and open, or you can actually open without saving. I'll do that. And then it launches the preview page for the creative. And as you can see here, the fully fluid is actually fit into, there's a little bit of padding at the bottom and then up until the top here. As I shrink this down, as you can see, it is fully fluid. And it's been set up, the preview page has been set up so that you can do this with the page, and you can also do testing across all of the different devices. And so in order to get a quick view of all them, you can actually click here and see desktop. And then there you go, that's the desktop. And because it's fully fluid, it's just going to fit that entire screen, as you see mobile. And then you can flip it and then see how it looks on those different screens. Or you can go here, and we've updated to include some of the latest devices in the list. Yeah, so that is the overview. And then what we've done is we've added the different kind of visualization. So responsive view, the breakout view basically gives you that same fully fluid, and then it gives you the 5 shapes that we had as default to see how you do that, and then all of the other shapes that you've added in there. We've only added in this 1200 by 1920 is the only one in there. And then you also have a tab here that shows that same creative now in all of the IAB Flex sizes. So as you can see here, it loads in all of the IAB Flex sizes, all the way from the horizontal, which is a 10 by 1, 8, 6, 4, 2, and then the intermediary, the 16 by 9, which is a 1.78, 1.6, 1.25, 1, and then it goes to 0.75, 0.66, all the way down to 0.25 in terms of the proportion. So as you can see, you have all of them here as well, which is quite nice. And then the fallbacks, actually, because we've only built a fully fluid, it shows you all of the all the different sizes that were actually built in the editor, so you can get all of those as well. So if you add a lot of sizes into the fully fluid, you can automatically get all of those sizes, as well as fallbacks or images. in the editor. We have here the ability to reload animation, and then there's the parallax key, and then there's the ability to change the background color if you want in the fallback page. So that is the overview of the latest features in the v3.0 and actually version 3.0.35. We will be doing a lot of new updates. We do have planned further updates to the animation system, and we will have a separate tutorial for all of the deployments and ad op related activities. So thank you very much for listening. That was a 30-minute overview of the new features in the ResponsiveAds v3 platform. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.